Why would anyone spend $750 on a tent? We're gonna get to that. This is the Offset Solo from Zpacks. And maybe I can actually tell you how you can get this tent brand new, a little bit cheaper for a limited time. So first we're just gonna get this tent set up. It comes with 0 stakes, so I had to bring my own tent stakes. By the way, if you're interested in what tent stakes I use, these are the MSR groundhogs. I like the full-size version of the groundhogs, nominal weight difference. This tent requires a lot of stakes. The setup on this tent is unique, but what you end up with is a tent that I think most people are really gonna like. And this has become a really popular tent. So why don't we get this thing set up? We'll walk through all the features. We'll walk through what I love about it, what I don't love about it, and then help you decide whether it's really worth $750. And then we'll talk about how we can get it just a little bit cheaper for you. I opted for this. This is the olive drab version, I believe. I just really like this color for the Dyneema material. So this is made out of Dyneema. If you don't know what Dyneema is, it's a very strong, abrasion resistant fabric that is completely waterproof, doesn't stretch, is like several times stronger than steel of the same size. If it was steel, was sort of flattened out. And it just makes a great tent, which actually is the reason why this tent is so expensive, because Dyneema, who purchased Cuban fiber back in the day, I believe, if I'm wrong, we'll put it up on the screen. They control the cost and the price of this, and them, along with inflation, yeah, it just causes the price to go way up. So this is the Solo. They also make a Duo version on this, which I also have. If anybody's wondering, yes, I bought this with my own money. Zpacks did not send this to me at all. So this was out of my own pocket, $750, and I just really liked the tent from what I saw of the Duo, so I bought this one. Now, how you want to set this up is you want to have now we're kind of in a not the best area to set up a tent because we're on sort of rocky ground here, but how you want to set this up is you want to have these tents corners at a 45-degree angle out. So 45 from the corner. So we're gonna do sort of 45-degree angle out, 45-degree angle out. So actually let's work our way around like this. And then you wanna give yourself some slack on these corners, because then you can sort of tighten it up after the fact. When I set these up, I like to give myself slack. I don't like to give myself all the slack. I do like a little bit left over on the guy line here, because I want to be able to grab it when I pull it to be able to tighten it up. I don't have to try to search for the guideline that's already extended out all the way. So the height that Zpacks recommends for your trekking poles is 122.5 centimeters or 48 inches. Actually, this trekking pole's got to go a little bit longer because I snapped off a pole tip, so maybe, I don't know, half an inch, 3/4 of an inch or something. All right, pole tips are going to go down. And on Dyneema tents, you'll notice that they all come with sort of like a reinforced corner here underneath the vestibule, where the door, sort of the top of the door. This one looks like it's actually not made out of Dyneema. That looks like it's sort of a polyester or a nylon up there. I've seen them made out of Dyneema. I think the Durst and X-Mid is actually got a Dyneema top there. And then one thing that's really important if you want a perfect pitch on these is that there are these little pieces of fabric here with a slit here. This is for your trekking pole to go in. And you do have to sort of make sure that you're extending your trekking pole, and then also you have to compensate for the trekking pole that's actually got to go in the ground there. Just like that. All right, now we'll do the same to the other side. This one's got a pole tip on it, 122.5 centimeters. We'll probably go, we'll say 123.5, because my pole tip is going to go in the ground. I suppose you could have the doors open when you do this too. I'm not really sure if that makes a difference. You Zpacks people can nitpick in the comments if the doors should be open when you set up the tent, or closed when you set up the tent. All right, that's actually not a terrible pitch so far. So then you can just tighten up the ends here. Now, one thing that's super unique about this tent is this one is offset. So this is very similar to a Zpacks duplex tent. Zpacks duplex tent is a very popular tent that's been around for a long time. But you can already see why there was a good idea to use slack here, because these tent corners are already, these guy lines are already really taut. One thing I don't like about this tent, I mean, sort of nitpicking here, and if you're gonna be camping or hiking, say a big long trail, you're gonna thru hike or something, it's just another pole that comes with the tent. And I know why this is here. It just provides a lot more room, but it's just one more thing that you could lose, one more thing that you could break. And this is why they call it the offset. It's got this really interesting little cup here on the guy line on this end. And then it's got another cup on the edge of the tent here. And then you're just gonna pull it out and stake it in. Very similar to what you'd see a lot of guys do when you just got a regular trekking pole tent and the guy line comes out, but people will stick a stick here to sort of give yourself some extra headroom. This is just their way of doing it. This one actually gives you a lot more headroom because of the construction of the tent, the way that the seams are, the way that the fabric is. It's meant to have this pole there, so that is gonna open up the tent on the inside huge, like the Taj Mahal. And then, if you're gonna be nitpicky and you just like to spend a lot of time getting the perfect pitch, you're just gonna go around and tighten up the guy lines a little bit. It's a very easy tent to set up. What I don't like is you gotta use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stakes. It's a lot of stakes to lose, right? A lot of stakes in a situation like this where you're gonna potentially have a rocky ground like this where it's gonna be difficult to get them all right where you want them. They're not gonna be exactly 45s. So you're probably wondering what the manufacturer error was. This buckle here was sewn on the wrong panel here. It was actually sewn on this panel. So when I opened it up, or you had to open it up from this side and you couldn't get inside the tent very easy. So, opening up a vestibule, they do have magnetic little toggles here. Kind of nice, just like that. And then the door is curved here. It does roll upwards. It does not roll down. Some people love that. Some people hate that. I actually like it. I don't really like having my tent doors fall down. I don't like it because they're just in the way. Whether they're inside of the tent or outside the tent, I just kind of feel like they're in the way. But you'll know that you've got it set up right or better than normal when the bathtub floor actually comes up like this, and you can see the pocket on the inside there is actually all the way down. All right, this isn't the best pitch in the world, but these are little guy lines or strings in here that you should tighten up in order to, stop this floor from extending past the end of the tent, and then rain's gonna come in. That's what that's for. But then you also, you can loosen it up a little bit because there is some ventilation back there. This tent is super, super ventilated. Ventilated very well all the way around. I think what we'll do is we'll throw a sleeping pad in here now. I've got a 25-inch wide by 72-inch long sleeping pad that we could throw in here, and you can kind of visualize about what it will look like. And I'll try to make some adjustments to make the floor a little bit nicer and open, so you can kind of see with a little bit better pitch what it's gonna look like for you. Okay, so I was mistaken. This pad is actually 22 inches wide by 72. It's a mummy style one. I have 2 of these, and I thought I brought the other one, but that's okay. Okay, we're back in my backyard because I wanna show you exactly which sleeping pad is the correct size. So this is the Flextail Zero pad, and this is an R 5.6 ASTM rated pad. Oh, and by the way, I should mention, but you're gonna wanna stick through this, that Flextail is sponsoring this portion of the video. But let me tell you about this pad because I think you're gonna really like it. So the sleeping pad is 25 inches wide by 72 inches long. It's a rectangle sleeping pad. It is about 3 inches thick. It bows up slightly on each side. This is ASTM rated at 5.6 R value. So this would last you the entire year. You could certainly winter camp in this if you wanted to, likely on snow, not in super, super cold temperatures like below zero, but you could easily do it below freezing. So this could be the one and done sleeping pad for you. I also like that the baffles go a long way so that you don't feel like you're sort of bowing up in the middle, and it has the baffles slightly larger on the edges here so that you can sort of feel like you're not gonna roll off it. It feels wider than it actually is.
All right, good morning. Let's talk about the Flextail pad for a second. It's a solid pad, I'm not gonna lie. It's not noisy at all. Like, you don't hear any crunch. So when you roll on it, I mean, it's gonna make that noise like any pad would. There's literally no crunch to it, whatsoever. So it's a really quiet pad. I prefer the wider one for sure, but this one isn't terrible. Yeah, and it's a nice warm pad. You can feel the warmth. It did not get cold at all last night. It was supposed to get down into the low 40s. My thermometer said it got down to 55, and I've got the door to my tent open, so the vestibule's open. So thumbs up for sure on this thing. I really like it a lot. So, especially for the price.
Now you're probably wondering, Dan, how much does this sleeping pad weigh? Well, the 72 by 25 inch sleeping pad all in weighs 24.3 ounces. That's pretty awesome. But I think the best part about this sleeping pad is going to be the price. So you can get the 72 by 25 pad for $140. You can get the mummy pad, which is almost 22 inches wide by 72 inches long, but it just sort of narrows at the bottom, for $120. But if you've ever wanted to add the Flextail Zero Pump into your backpacking arsenal, you should do it when you buy this sleeping pad, because when you add it with the slightly wider version, it's only going to be an additional 25 bucks. When you add it to the slightly mummified, slightly narrower version, it's only going to be about $28 extra. When they're selling that pump for like 50 bucks as is. So it's going to save you 20 bucks. So all in, you're still under 200 bucks for a pump that weighs next to nothing, a super comfortable sleeping pad that is going to take you pretty much throughout the entire year. So click the link in the description below for a coupon code Becker15 that's going to be added to your purchase. It'll take you right over to Flextail's website, and that's going to give you 15% off of anything that you purchase at Flextail. Flextail, thank you so much for sponsoring this video. So you can kind of peek in there and see how a 22-inch wide sleeping pad is going to look. A 25-inch wide pad is obviously going to fit in there really easily as well. Yeah, the amount of headroom in here is absolutely insane. There's got to be, let's see, if I sit straight up and I'm on my sleeping pad, there's literally that much. That's like 7 inches of headroom here. I mean, like right here, I'm just starting to touch. And like laying down, I mean, this is, it's not bad at all. Foot room is awesome. Headroom is awesome. All the room in here is awesome. If you got a sleeping bag or something in here, if you're using a quilt, if you're, just whatever you've got, you don't have to worry about anything hitting the outside of the tent. You're gonna get not much as far as like amenities in tents like this. These are minimalist tents. So you're not gonna get like gear lofts. You're not gonna get pockets all over the place. But this one does have 2 pockets, which is pretty good for a one-person tent. You got a little pocket here and a little pocket here. Again, if the pocket is upright, then you know that the tent floor is set up correctly. Yeah, I mean, it's a shelter. One thing about shelters that if you're new to backpacking that you should probably know is that you're only gonna sleep in this thing. You're really not gonna spend a lot of time in it. You're not gonna be sitting in your tent just when you could be outside, unless you're waiting on a storm or something like that, which doesn't happen all that often. So you don't really need a lot of amenities inside of your tent. And then up here by the trekking pole top here, there are these little loops here. I'm not exactly sure what these are for. Probably to potentially put a guy line across where you can attach maybe it's like a headlamp or hang something to dry in here or something like that. But just know that those are there if you wanted to put a headlamp up there. One thing that sort of drives me nuts with Dyneema tents is that most manufacturers don't put any type of a loop in the tent in the middle just to hang a headlamp. I don't think it's really that difficult to do that. You could just glue one up there. So I would sort of knock it for that. But again, it's a minimalist tent. The other thing I do love about this is that we finally got the waterproof zipper back, or the waterproof zipper in general. The duplex that I have, it's one of their lighter weight versions. It just had these like tent doors that would fold over and had like a weird buckle. It was kind of annoying. I mean, it worked, but waterproof zippers is just like what you get for the weight penalty is almost nothing. So this tent, without the stakes obviously, but all in, is gonna weigh 17.5 ounces. There's a couple of colors. There's the orange one, and I think it's the reddish or the pink one that is gonna weigh a little bit more. I think those ones are 19.3 ounces. Emmett he'll figure it out if I got it all wrong. Okay, the spruce and burnt orange use a heavier weight. It's the 0.75 ounce per square yard canopy fabric. And the other one, so this one is gonna have a 0.55 ounce per square yard canopy fabric. So what is the difference? Why would they do that? Well, the other ones are going to provide a little bit more abrasive resistance. Abrasive? How do you say that? Abrasive? Abrasion resistance?
Sure.
Abrasives?
Words.
Yeah. It's just going to be a little bit more protected from the scratches. And it's also going to give you a little bit more privacy, those colors. This one's just a little bit thinner. But, I mean, I think most people aren't going to need to worry about that. Where you're really going to need to worry about the abrasion is on the floor. So you're obviously, because, look here, you got rocks and other things that could poke up through the floor. So this tent cost $750. Why would anyone spend $750 on a tent? I remember first backpacking and thinking that like $250 or $300 was expensive for a tent. I mean, $750, that is just, you're getting up on some of the most expensive tents out there when you're talking about just backpacking tents, not like mountaineering tents or anything like that at all. But I mean, that's just a whole heck of a lot of money. Why in the world would you spend that amount of money on a tent? Well, a couple reasons. If you are going to backpack a lot, if you're a thru hiker, if you're someone who just is so passionate about this hobby that you want to buy the one and done tent and you don't want to have to really think about it, you want the lightest weight option, because the lighter weight you go, typically those are going to be a lot more expensive. And you've got a tent that's just, sort of bomb-proof from a element standpoint. You're not going to have water, coming through it or soaking through it. You don't have to like put any chemicals on here to make it more waterproof, like a DWR type fabric or anything like that, or like a nylon or a polyester fabric where you're going to have to constantly recoat it and that kind of thing. It's just sort of, you bought it, it works, it's done. You don't have to think about it anymore. And it's also, everybody looks at the tent and just, they envy you. They're like, oh my gosh, that guy knows how to backpack. $750. So we talked earlier how you can get this tent cheaper, still brand new. Well, the other two colors that are the heavier weight actually are $699 right now, is what I saw on Zpacks website. And I think that's because they're phasing out one of the colors. I think the orange color is getting phased out. So if you want it, pick it up. It's sort of a limited time only, but yeah.
Okay, let's talk condensation. I slept with the door open and it got cool, not cold, cool. And there's just a little bit of condensation in here. And that is totally normal for any single wall tent out there. It doesn't matter what tent you're using at all. I mean, this tent is super ventilated and it's got condensation. That's what happens in a single wall tent. That's what you're gonna deal with. So yeah, solid experience sleeping in this tent. Okay, so I've tried a few different Zpacks tents. I've tried the Duplex, I've tried the Offset Duo, and I've tried the Offset Solo. I may have tried one or two other tents over the years from Zpacks. Out of all the tents that I've tried, I do like this one the best. I think it is a reasonable amount of space inside of it for one person, more than enough room for one person. The footprint on this tent is not bad at all. Great vestibule space, great headroom, a little bit finicky to set up because of all the staking out that you've got to do. Sleeping in it last night, small condensation issues as you've seen. But is this thing worth $750? Are you going to spend that on this tent? If you only backpack once, twice a year, if you're just sort of a random hobbyist, if you're thinking about that epic hike with your friends, first time you've ever gone, please don't buy this tent. It is way too expensive. There are much better, less expensive options out there. I'll put some in the description below for you. But if you're that guy that this is kind of your deal, you want to backpack like years and years, you're going to through hike some big trail, or you just got a ton of money that you want to spend, this is an amazing tent.
YouTube is a rabbit hole of information. So in order to solve that problem, I wrote a backpacking course where I took my 10 years of backpacking experience and the 400 YouTube videos that I filmed and condensed it down into just 18 videos and a few lessons for you to learn. All you have to do is go to my brand new website, danbeckeroutdoors.com, and look for the course.